All right, this is Stephen Sloan. The date is November 6, 2012. I'm with Mr. Ray Buchanan at his address, 1810 East 1st Street in Mount Pleasant, Texas. This is an interview for the Texas Holocaust and Genocide Commission's Texas Liberators project. Mr. Buchanan, thank you for sitting down with us today. I told you I wanted to start by getting a little background on the Buchanan family. I know you've done some genealogy and you know something about the family going back, so I would love to hear you share some of that.
Okay. In 1702, two brothers from Scotland came to the United States, to New York, and we are originally from one of those Buchanans. They came to down to Tennessee and raised a family there. My great-grandfather was buried in Howell, Tennessee, and see, they had, I think it was about 5 children. And my granddaddy was James Chamberlain Buchanan. And there he was born in 1845 in Tennessee. And the Civil War broke out. Well, all his brothers joined the army and he was too young to go at that time. So he run off and joined anyhow, and his daddy went and found him and brought him back to the farm to work the farm. And he didn't like that, so he run off again. He was only 15 years old, I think it was at that time. He run off again and joined the cavalry again, Forrest's cavalry. All of them was in the Forrest cavalry, and so my granddaddy, being the Yankees taking over Tennessee, so he would go back to Tennessee and recruit all the young boys that he could find to join the Confederacy. And my uncles all was older than him, and so they kindly taken care of my granddaddy. They'd make him stay behind a lot and take care of the horses and what have you, not getting too many fights. But all my uncles was wounded at least one time, and lived over it, and my granddaddy was wounded in the back of his leg. And we always asked him how come he wounded in the back of his leg, and he said, I was just getting in a better position, you see. And that's the way he did it. And he lived to be 94 years old, and I think I was about 12 years old when he died. He didn't die till, I think, in 1938, somewhere along in there. And when I was about 5 years old, he lived with us, and he talked the war over. He said they captured 33 Yankees at one time, and all of them were kids, and they all started crying, so they turned them all loose. And then shoot them. They thought that the Yankees thought they was going to kill them, but they turned them loose. We just felt sorry for them. We just turned them loose. And that was one of his stories that he told. And he said that when Sherman come through Howell, Tennessee, he was home, and they taken everything they had, chickens, hogs, and everything, and left them one sack of bran that they fed the hogs with. That's all they left them in the house. And he said, we eat that for breakfast, that bran that the hogs didn't eat, till we got something else to eat. He said, Sherman didn't leave us nothing.
Wow.
And so that was one of his stories, he said. And anyhow, he was born here in Mount Pleasant in he was born in Tennessee in 45. My daddy was born here in Mount Pleasant in 1888. And he told a lot about Mount Pleasant, you know. And my family was married around 65 years and never had a death in their family. That's their grandkids and great-grandkids and all. And I told my daddy how lucky he was to be married 65 years and never have a death in the family. And he agreed that he was lucky. So we had a night, there were 7 of us, and they still, 4 of us still living. So we used it. The doctor has told me that I have the best genes that they are, and I'll probably live a long time yet. So he may be right, I don't know. So
Well,
that's just about the story of our family.
Now, what did your father do? What was his occupation?
My father was a farmer, and he raised everything he ate. We raised everything on the farm that he ate. We never went hungry, even during the Depression. He always had plenty of food on the table. And even families would come and eat with us on Sunday that didn't have anything. We wondered why we had company here all the time, but it was people didn't have nothing to eat. So my daddy would work all day, and he'd come in at noon, and he'd take that old double shotgun and go down on a branch down there, and we had mulberries, trees, and squirrels that liked mulberries, and he'd kill a squirrel, bring it home, and that's what we'd had for supper, is that squirrel. My mother raised a lot of chickens, so we'd have chicken on Sunday, and we had plenty to eat, but a lot of families did not have a lot to eat during that Depression. And when I was only, I guess, 12 years old, I mowed pecan orchard in White Oak Bottom, and they paid me 75 cents a day. I was only 12 years old, but that was good money back in them days for a 12-year-old boy. I always worked. I've worked all my life. I never wanted, I don't even take a vacation. I hadn't even had a vacation in 20 years. So I'd rather work. I done seen all in the United States and the world that I want to see. And the best place I've found is East Texas. So that's the way that goes.
Amen to that. Amen.
Yeah. And I picked cotton. All me and my daddy would walk a mile to pick cotton and a mile back. And on Sunday, the man had come up and paid us what we done, and I only made $2.76 that whole week. So that's the way times was hard.
Yeah.
And people would plant watermelons in the crops. And what you do is you find a watermelon, bust it open, and eat it, and you go and keep picking.
So now, what sort of chores did you have on the farm, on the family farm?
What chores did I have?
Uh-huh.
Well, I helped my mother a lot, milk. We milked cows. So I'd help my mother round up the cows and get them in the pen and everything. My daddy didn't do that. It was all up to me to help my mother. And I milked a lot. I was just a kid, but all the rest of the kids wouldn't milk a cow. My sisters wouldn't milk one. My oldest brother, of course, Kendall wasn't even born at that time. And So I helped my mother all that, and she sold milk. And you had to put it in a can and take it down there and wet a towel and put around the cans to kind of keep it cool before it spoiled when they come pick it up. And we had to be careful if the cows would eat bitter weeds, and they'd be bitter, well, they'd turn it down, you see. And a lot of times they'd turn that milk down, and we didn't get nothing out of it. So we got a little money out of that. And Mount Pleasant had a boarding deal here in Mount Pleasant that fed all the farmers around here during the Depression. If I hadn't had that, I don't know what they'd done. But everybody sold milk at the boardings here in Mount Pleasant. It's still standing up here in Mount Pleasant. They've had ice cream and all that kind of stuff. So that was my shore. And my daddy gave my oldest son, when he was 12 years old, he gave him a horse, bought him a saddle. And when I got 12 years old, well, he gave me a horse. And of course, he didn't give me a saddle. I kept the same saddle my oldest brother did. And my oldest brother, he wanted to join the Navy when the war, before the war broke out in 1936. He wanted to join the Navy, but he wasn't 18 yet, and Daddy wouldn't sign for him. But as soon as he got 18 years old, he went into the Navy. And he was put on USS Maryland. Well, he served his 4 years and was home December the 7th when they bombed Pearl Harbor. He was home on leave. Maryland was hit hard. To Arizona, the boy from Mount Pleasant was on Arizona at the same time my brother was, and he went down on Arizona. We lost him. And so my brother didn't go back to the Navy. He stayed out. And after the war, after Pearl Harbor, he stayed out for a while, and his time run out to rejoin. And they were fixing to send him to the Army. They sent him a notice that drafted him. So he rushed down and joined the Navy right quick, and went into the Navy again, and they made him Chief Petty Officer because he'd already spent 4 years. And so he retired out of the Navy after 20 years. He stayed in the Pacific all that time, World War II and what have you. But I don't think he's seen much action. He was on sub chasers, and he wasn't on a battleship no more. So he didn't see no whole lot of action, even if he was in the Pacific. But made a long story short, I was in high school when they hit Pearl Harbor. In Talco, I was going to school at Talco, and I played football and basketball and run track for them. And the school paid my meals, gave me 3 meals a day and a place to live. I was supposed to go to Mount Pleasant, but I didn't like them, so I wanted to play football. So that's the reason I went to Talco. And so they gave me 3 meals a day and room and board if I'd play football. So I played football, and I was head of the class over in Talco. So I was president of the sophomore and also the junior class. And I quit before I finished over at Talco and got married. Me and Ella got married. She talked me into it, so we decided to get married because I knew I was going to go to war here. Yeah. So we got married, and I stayed out a little while before they drafted me in 43.
Okay. Okay.
So that's just about my story, except I left out one thing. When I was 17 here in Mount Pleasant, I joined a 3C camp, and I was sent to Camp Decorah, Georgia, no, Arizona, Fredonia, Arizona. And I stayed there during the summer.
Okay, what sort of work were you doing there?
Now, we was building a fence across the government land out there, and we would build a mile a week. On Monday we'd clear the right of way. On Tuesday we dug holes, and on Wednesday we set posts, and on Friday we'd have a mile of fence made. And we didn't work for about 3 or 4 hours a day. It was long ways out there and a long ways back. And what we had for lunch was a sandwich and an apple or orange. Sandwich was a bologna sandwich and cheese. That's all we had for lunch. That's all the government gave us for our lunch. And we made $30 a month, and we sent 22 of it back to our families. That wouldn't work today.
Yeah.
So I sent my $22 back to my families. I really don't know whatever went with my $22. Really, I don't even remember my family even giving me back my $22. But anyhow, then I told them I said they was going to make a supply sergeant out of me in the 3C camp. And I said, no, I'm fixing to get on that Greyhound bus tonight when it comes through. I'm going to Talco, Texas. I'm going to turn in all my stuff. So I turned in all my stuff, waited for the Greyhound bus, and I borrowed $20 from the little boy out there. He's from Talco, and he loaned me $20 to get on the bus. And I told him I'd send him back his $20. So he trusted me. So when I got back to Talco, the superintendent said, I called out there to tell them that you were in school to give you honest discharge. Now, where I ever got it or not, I don't know. But he said, I sent that $20 to that Belcher boy for paying your way to school. That's how they were so proud of me getting back to this, because I was on the main teams of Talco. So that's the story I left out. But that summer, I didn't stay but a little while, and just the summer months.
So you didn't think much of the desert?
Huh?
You didn't think much of the desert out there in Arizona?
No. Some of that little town, Fredonia, I don't think there's about 300 or 400 people in that little town. We go over there, Canal, Utah. That was a pretty good sized little town. That's where they made these Western deals and what have you. And they had little Western towns out there, and they made movies out there. So, but there wasn't no girls, there wasn't very many girls out there, and if you did get a girl there, you might well get beat up pretty bad, because they were so scarce, them guys they didn't want you fooling with their girls. If you fooled with their girls, you would get beat up. So, and you'd be surprised how dumb, ignorant the kids was back in those days, coming off a farm. They'd send us in new recruits out there, and we'd tell them now, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take your pencil and a pad and go out there on the highway and count all the cars that come by. And they'd do it. And we told one boy, said, what you're going to have to do is go water the flagpole every so often. And they don't do it. And we had a boy that was a professional boxer. And we asked him, we had a bunch of recruits, about 10 of us. We asked them, is anybody in here that knows how to box? And one old boy raised his hand. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll arrange a boxing match. We'll find somebody that you can fight. So we get this professional boxer, and he acts like he ain't never boxed before. And we matched him. And this old boy, he thought he was going to fight him. Well, he walked up to him. That professional boxer just cold cocked him. So they just laid him out. See, that's what the fun was. So it is just how dumb people was coming off the farm, you know, thinking you had to take orders from, like that.
Yeah.
Water the flagpole and do all the things. We played that against them. Okay, that's about the story.
Well, I wanted to ask, you mentioned about playing football at Talco.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I halfback.
Halfback?
I made 9 touchdowns that season. And the first game, I scored the first touchdown in that game. And I would played safety on defense. And I got hurt a lot playing safety. I gave a fair signal to catch one time, and the man he knocked me crazy, boy. And not seeing my hand up, he didn't even know what the signal was, I don't think. But anyhow, I never fumbled too much on the kickoff and what have you. I run for 1 touchdown all the way. That's the only one I run. A lot of times I made more yardage than anybody playing halfback. There was 4 of us, and we run that Notre Dame box. It's called the 4 Horsemen, Notre Dame. We run that. We shifted from one. All 4 of us shifted at the same time. Here, right and left. They did away with that in I think in 44, 45, something like that. You can only have one man shifting. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, we shifted all 4. And so I was the only one left off the team. It's really one reason. I guess I got married and I wasn't going to come back because I was going to be the only one, and I was going to be the quarterback. And I knew I was going to get killed because the whole team graduated but me and just a few more. And I didn't come back to play quarterback. The coach told me, he gave me a football and all that and told me what to do and practice all summer. But I didn't do that. I didn't go back. So that's it.
So now, did you work on the farm between that time and 43 when you were drafted?
No.
Yeah.
No. I got a job when me and Helen married. I got a job at the Butternut Bakery in Mount Pleasant, and he paid me $11 a week. I checked the people in that loaded up with bread. In the afternoon when they come in, I would check their load and everything to be sure everything was okay. And I got $1 a week more for that, and the rest of them just got $10 a week. And I got 11. And I worked in that bakery, and I also wrapped cakes all day long. Wrapped cakes, seal cakes. We made them little cakes for $0.10 a piece, and we had to wrap them and everything, put them up, and I worked there, and that money, that $11 wasn't going very far. I was having to pay $5 for rent. I only had $6 left. My wife, she wanted to go to show every other day, so you know, $5 didn't buy me any groceries, and so I started looking for me a better job. So I got a job at the wholesale house delivering groceries. So I worked there, and I got $17 a week doing that, and so I put in a job for seismograph crew. They were in Mount Pleasant, and I wanted to go work for them because they paid good money. So they didn't have no place for me, but a guy from City Service out of Oklahoma come down there, and he stopped, and he asked them did they know anybody. He needed another hand, so they gave me my name. So he got me, come over and got me and said, if you want to go work for me, I'm going to Amite, Louisiana. And said, I'll give it, I think it was $35 or $40 a week. I said, yeah, I'll take it. So I told my wife, I said, you just have to go home and stay with your daddy and mother till I get a check, and I'll come get you. I'm going there, and she did. She didn't like it, but she did. And so I went to Amite, Louisiana, and I worked down there, and then moved to Livingston, Texas, and then I was drafted. I was drafted when I was living in Livingston, Texas, working for the City Service Holocaust. So I never did try to go back to work for him when I come back from World War II. When I come back from World War II, I was going to rent a farm. The place that we lived on was 400 acres, and then I leased that. And I was going to go in the cattle business. So they said that we could borrow, I think it's up to $4,000 to go in business on a GI loan. Well, I went to all the banks, and they wouldn't loan me none. They wouldn't loan me none, that no 4%. Oh, it's lower than that right now.
Yeah.
And they said, if you was, so I went to Paris, and see if I'd loan me up there, and they said, no, Titus County's supposed to take care of their own veterans. So if you was from Red River County, we could loan it. And so I come back, I couldn't get a loan. I bought cattle for what I had, because on the way back from overseas on the boat, I got into a crap game, and I won $700. So I stuck it in my pocket and come home with $700. And this boy from Deadwater, he won a lot, but he kept on, he went back by God, and then lost all of it. And he had to borrow $5 from me when he got off, when he got to Mount Pleasant. And of course, he did all right there. He went into the automotive, sales, Ford sales in Mount Pleasant. So he was my buddy over there. And he asked me one day, did I ever pay you back that $5? And I said, no, you ain't never paid me back no $5. He said, well, I'll tell you what, you go pick you out a car out there, and I'll sell it to you what it cost me. So I did. I bought a car for him. But anyhow, finished Wagner. So let's see where I'm at. But anyhow,
we had gotten you up to. Let's go through when you got your draft notice and when you got notice.
When I got the draft notice.
Yeah.
Well, me and wife come on home. I had about 10-day leave, I think, before they take me. And I gone on, like I say, we went to Camp Waters, And that's when I joined the paratroopers, and
Well, tell me that story, because we didn't get that on recording, so I want to hear that story.
oh, you want to hear that?
Yeah.
Camp Walters?
Yeah.
Well, you got the Camp Walters, they run us through all kinds of tests, to see what they wanted in the Army, see what we could use, the signal corps and all that. But anyhow, we found out that the paratroopers paid, $50 a month more. Not thinking about the reason they're paying it, because you don't live long jumping out of a plane, to combat. So while I was at Camp Walters, I had been in the 3C camp, and I know how everything works. And a sergeant run up to me and another boy and said, "Hey, Private," said, "take these clothes of mine over there to cleaners and tell them I want to clean them, and Sergeant so-and-so." I forget what his name was. I said, "Yes, sir." I taken all the clothes. He went on around the corner, and I throwed them in the dead blame can. The old boy told me, he said, "Man, we gonna get in trouble." I said, "No. That sergeant he ain't supposed to ask me to take his clothes to the damn cleaners and get them clean. Now let him try to find his clothes." So I don't know whether he ever looked for his clothes or not. But that's one sergeant that he asked the wrong private to take his clothes to the cleaner. Because I done seen that trick pulled before. But anyhow, they sent us to Camp Dakota, Georgia, with the 17th Parachute Infantry. And they were already in training. And we had to go through all that jumping out of the tower, doing push-ups. And this Private Green from Mount Pleasant, he got up there and he jumped out of the tower. He closed his eyes, He got down to the bottom. The sergeant asked him, said, "Didn't you get a lot of sleep last night?" He said, "Yeah." "I don't think you did." So run around this track 5 times. No boy laughed at the time. When the corporal or sergeant one asked him, says, "What do you think? What are you laughing about?" He said, "I'm laughing at him to run around that track." He said, "I don't think it's a damn bit fun." He says, "You just go around 5 times." Right behind him say, "I don't think it's a damn bit funny." So there he went. And then they say, hit the ground, do 25 push-ups. We hit the ground, we do 25 push-ups. And then when you get through that, he'd go down the line and say, "How many push-ups did you do?" The boy said, 25. "How come you do 25? I didn't count them." Go down and do 10 more for doing 25. And just stuff like that, just to aggravate the heck out of you, So then they put us on KP over there, peeling potatoes and everything, So I looked over there and there was cartons of milk, God, I love milk. I was sitting there peeling the potatoes and I see all that carton, just standing right there, just a few feet from me. I caught everybody I thought was gone. I slipped over and got me one, dragged it right quick and hit it. Man, if they'd have caught me, they'd have put me in jail for don't tell how long. But anyhow, I got by with that. But I didn't do it anymore. So they called us in one time after they got through, and interviewed us, and I told you that there's a little boy that weighed 125 pounds. Officer said, "Son, you jumped out of an airplane, we'd never find you." Little boy, he just nearly cried because he wanted the paratrooper so bad, but he didn't get in. So they only picked one man. He said he didn't want to leave his buddies, so they told him to get his stuff and get out of there. So we all come back to Camp Hewlin, Texas, down here at the end of the aircraft, 8:38. And then they had about 200 of us that come in there together, and so then they shipped about, I don't know, 600 or 800 Yankees from New York and around up there, mixed with us. We was all Southern. That's when the Civil War ended, you know. They mixed, during World War II, they mixed the Southern boys with the Yankees, you see. That did away with the Civil War. And they taken most of the Southern boys and made corporals and sergeants out of them. They made some corporals and sergeants out of the Yankees, but I made first class first month, and then I made corporal the next month or two because I already had experience, you know, in 3C camp and all that. So I got a corporal's rating pretty quick, made a gunner on the section. And it wasn't very long to our training in South Texas. My sergeant was from Tennessee, and he was about 32 years old. He's really old to be in there. Yeah, but he had a lot of experience, and we'd go out on maneuvers in South Texas, and we weren't supposed to take a whole lot of cookies and things to eat, you know. We were supposed to eat the rations and all that. But he didn't. He'd buy a bunch of stuff. And we out there on maneuvers, why, we cooked a lot. So one day was going out on maneuvers, and there was a lot of those Bremer cattle that was out there, them white in the South Texas. Mm-hmm. And one of these Yankees asked me, he says, "What is them things out there?" I said, "Them Texas armadillos." That's what they are, Texas armadillos. I didn't tell him any different. So we were set up and everything, and he crawled through the fence over there and was rolling around, and one of them bulls got after him, you see. Running through the fence, he come running up there, and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "One of them damn Texas armadillos got after me." I said, "No, that were not armadillos. They're Bremer cattle, you know." But he didn't know the difference either, Carter. So some of those Yankees, they was really ignorant on farm life and animals and what have you. They lived up there in the northern part of New York, you know. They didn't have all that. So,
well, I liked it wherever you were, you had fun.
Yeah, I had fun. We had fun, you know. We'd barbecue and what have you. And but anyhow, when it got to training, that I made acting sergeant over the section before we left Camp Hewlin. Mm-hmm. And we went to Long Island, New York. And there we did advanced training out there, and we had training with the paratroopers. They come in and the paratroopers dropped at our air deal up there, taking the airfield, and the aircraft was all behind them. So they just practiced jumping out, you know, and taking that airstrip. And we got through with that maneuvers, went back, and we went to Durham, North Carolina, where some more, didn't do much training there. It was just to get all ready to go overseas. Mm-hmm. So they give us all a 10-day leave. So I come home, I told my wife, I said, when I go back, if you don't hear from me for a while, you know I got on the boat and I'm going overseas. So I think we're going to leave as soon as we all get back. And sure enough, when we got back, they loaded us all up, went to New York and loaded us on the boat on December the 1st. 1944, I guess it was.
Yeah.
December the 1st, 1944. Well, we was on the convoy on clear days. You could count at least 50 ships in that convoy. We were in the middle, and they had all these destroyers and sub-chasers around us, you see, protecting us. And it taken us 13 days at sea, and we landed on the northern part of England. And we got off the boat there and loaded on the train in England. And we went all the way across England to the southern part of England, to a little small town. I forgot what the name of it was. It wasn't very far from Poole, England, but it was a real small little town there. And it was owned by some English lord or whatever. He had a big mansion there and stable for horses and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, it begun real cold now. We got there about the 14th or 15th of December, and they told us to start cleaning up our guns. Our guns had already arrived there, and they was all had that old cosmoline all over them, and it was freezing cold. And we had to go out there and clean that 40 millimeters and our 50 caliber machine guns and get them all ready to fire. So we did that on about the 20th of December. They called us and alerted us to get ready to ship out. Well, we didn't know what was going on. It was a Belgian bug. And old Patton said, get all them anti-aircraft units and turn them into infantry and let's get up here. So that's the reason they alerted us, to get ready. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know there was a Belgian bug, that they was having trouble. So on Christmas Day, they canceled our orders. They didn't need us now. Mm-hmm. See, they done stopped them. Mm-hmm. Old Patton and all of them, they done stopped them. So we didn't get to go. So we waited about 10 more days. Got everything ready. And we went and loaded on them big landing crafts down there at Southampton. I think it's Southampton. Mm-hmm. We landed all our trucks and guns is all hooked up, and we drove them right into the end of them boats in line, the whole outfit. And we got on that, and at night we went across the channel, and they almost had run into another boat that night, and I fell out of my bunk. And we didn't know what was going on, and we asked what was going on, and said, well, I almost hit another boat. They go across there. Well, we got across it next morning, and they run this boat up to the ramp. I don't know, I think it was Omaha Beach. I don't know, it was Omaha or the other one. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, we drove our trucks right on out.
You were on LST?
Yeah. We drove our trucks right on out of that boat. And I see that same path on TV right there that I went through there. There's a house on the side there. And we went to a camp there called Lucky Strike. And there's where they issued us our ammunition, all our ammunition and everything to fight with. And so we got all that, and then we loaded up on the trucks and everything, and we went around the southern part of Paris and joined the 7th Army over there. We just kept driving and driving, and I kept hearing artillery shells, and we got closer and closer. After a while, they was firing back from us. We done passed the artillery. So we went up there, and this was 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I'm 19 years old, and my buddies are 19 years old. In a strange country, you don't know where in the hell you are. They give me a little map. And it had a fence up there, and it had a patch of woods there. And I was to go up there and find that place of little woods up there where I was going to put my gun, the 40 millimeter and the 50 caliber machine gun. So we got out, me and 2 more, and we eased up that fence row, scared to death. Didn't know where the Germans was. We didn't know nothing. 3 o'clock in the morning. I had a little flashlight. We were afraid to use it. Afraid, Germans would see us and kill us. Well, I went on up there and we found the place. And then we come back. It took about an hour to turn, and we come back about 4 o'clock in the morning. We told them to follow us, so we got in the trucks and we went up there to the right place, sit and unloaded everything, our gun, and put our gun in position around there and unloaded everything. And at daybreak, when it got light, I looked down in the valley there, and I've never seen so many 5-gallon cans of gasoline in my life stacked up there from half a mile. And that was what we were supposed to guard. If a plane come down and dropped a bomb on that gasoline, it just all blew up, you see. And I didn't know what we were supposed to do, but that was what we were supposed to do. Is if any plane tried to bomb that gasoline, we were supposed to shoot them down. So we got the cook out, and he got everything ready, and he made breakfast, and we all ate breakfast. We dug our gun in. We got up, nothing going on. We didn't see no planes. We didn't see nothing. And I had my field glasses out, and I looking down through there, and there's some houses over there, and I seen a girl run out, hanging out clothes on the line down there. Well, I looked at her a while, and then after a while, the GI come out of the same house. He'd been in there with her. See, I said, this ain't gonna be too bad, being on the front lines.
Yeah, this is battle. Yeah,
it ain't gonna be too bad, So, make a long story short, we dug our guns in and everything, got it ready done. We thought we was gonna stay there for, no telling how long. No, next day or two, they said, load up. We're going up 5 more miles. So we loaded up our guns and went up about 5-10 more miles. Dug in again. Well, we got everything. Well, no planes shut down. We didn't see no planes to shoot at. Nothing. So we stayed there, but I don't know how long. Wasn't very long till they come. So, load up. We're going up some further more. So we loaded up, went on up there to artillery, 240 millimeter artillery. Well, I guess we were attached to them, and I don't know why, but anyhow, we was right beside them, and we dug our guns in and everything, and started snowing like everything. And gosh, we didn't have much clothes. We just had an overcoat. We had one white coat for about 14 men. Them Germans all had white coats, but we only had one. So we used that one to go out and on guard. We'd go out on guard for 2 hours, and then they'd relieve us, another man would relieve us. We had a machine gun out there and a radio. And we'd go in that dugout and sit there and watch see if anything. It was that, you know, we would be attacked any time, you know, we didn't ever know. So we found out how to fix our radio where we could bring in Luxembourg, the GI station over there, and listen to the music, the American music. So we would listen to that, and then we'd switch our radio back, you know. It wasn't too bad, you know, when we could, you know, listen to American music, you know. And
did you figure out ways to keep warm?
Yeah, we just had that overcoat, and we had blankets, you know. We just go out there and wrap them up in blankets, you know, and everything. But it was still cold, and we come back, and so this artillery, they would get orders to fire, you know, and they'd fire 3 rounds, or maybe 4 rounds, and you could almost see that shell when it come out of that big barrel. And we went down and asked the boys. They fired 3 rounds, and we went down there and asked them, "What y'all shooting at?" Said, "Well, they had a bridge up there about 10 miles from us. They wanted knocked out. They said it don't take us but 3 rounds till we knock that bridge out." So that's what they done. So we stayed there for quite a while, and then went on up further and further, and we settled down with the artillery. We were attached to a big artillery. 7th Army had a lot of artillery. Patton had all the tanks and everything, but we had all the artillery, say the 105s and all that. So we was attached to them on the 7th Army. And they were all lined up, you could, you know. And I dug my gun in, a 40 millimeter, and there's an M51 mount. I dug that in, and we're sitting there, and I had a scout out the front about a mile or a half a mile, and he hollered out over the radio, said a P-47 is coming towards you with its machine guns wide open. A P-47. I turned my 40 millimeter right towards him, and he come over the treetops. When he come over the treetops, I fired 40 millimeter at him, but I missed him. But he cut his machine guns off. Why, I don't know, because he probably could have killed me if he got from it. But when I fired that, he turned that plane right straight up and did it just like that. And I was firing at him. I fired 30 rounds at him. And I didn't see him no more. But anyhow, and so it wasn't little. They said on 26th, I think of March, we got to make a push to the Rhine River. We were in a pocket back there. We were the only ones in a pocket back there that hadn't got to the river yet. So on the 26th, they said the HR was 11 o'clock. Well, around 11 o'clock, there was about 12 B-17s flew over us. And right in front of us, they started dropping bombs right in front of us. And the Germans knocked down 2 of them, exploded in the air. I don't know how many they hit. But them boys never broke formation. They went right straight and they turned right in front of us. They unloaded all their bombs right in front of us and turned on back. But 2 of them blowed up in the air. There wasn't none of them left. They blew the whole ends up. Well, so they said HR, so that whole artillery opened up. and all on the front line there. And they fired till nearly daylight, the artillery. So we loaded up. They told us it's time to load up and go. We're going to the Rhine River, and we're going to be there by tomorrow. So, and we loaded up, and I'll tell you the truth, Hitler had his army with them horse-drawn artillery, and he pulled all his mechanized equipment, the tanks and everything, across the river, and tried to hold Americans off with that artillery, the horse-drawn artillery. Well, if P-47 just come in and just killed all them horses, they just laying over on the side of the ditches all the way to the Rhine River. So we got to the Rhine River. It's all on that right there. We got to the Rhine River, and my outfit, my Section C, I think it was Section, yeah, my section anyhow, Battery C, Section 4, I think it was. They helped me in reserve. So all the others on the Rhine River was up there in front. Already they hadn't crossed yet, but they waited for me. I was in reserve. So they waited till got the bridge built, and then I went across with mine and got to the levee and dug in out there at the levee. And there was a woman with 5 kids down the levee there, and one of them bunkers. She come running up there, the artillery shells was going over, and she said, "Hitler's gonna kill us all." My interpreter, a German boy from Wisconsin, he was my interpreter. He said, "That's not Hitler's shells, that's ours going over." She said, you're gonna have to go back. She didn't want to go back, but he talked to her and told her, "You can't stay with us. We taken over the bunkers there that the Germans had left, moved in them." And so we stayed there for quite a while. But I left out one story back here that I want to go back.
Okay.
I pulled in, that's a story before we got to the Rhine River.
Okay.
That I left out.
Sure.
That I wanted to tell you.
I want to hear it.
That's a real good story. We was ordered to a town, I think it was, can't remember the name of the town. But anyhow, it had a railroad running to it that they hadn't destroyed yet. So they ordered me up there and they ordered me to set my 40 millimeter at the railroad tracks at the station there. Well, I went on there and I dug my 40 millimeter in, a 50 caliber machine gun in, and it was raining and misted rain in the night. Everything is black. And all at once I heard bombers coming over. And the captain, he called me because I had gone to school to learn the sound of bombers, you know, the sound of the engine, and tell them which engine was above us, see? We go by sound. So I was schooled in that, and he knew it. So the captain called me up and said, "Buchanan, what we got upstairs? What are those?" And I said, "They're German bombers." And I gave him the number of them. I said, "I believe it's 4 of them circling." He said, "For God's sake, scatter your men out and tell them if they see anybody flashing a light, kill them. That's an order. I said, okay. So I scattered them all out and told them, I said, if you see anybody flashing a light, the order's there to kill them. Those are German planes up above us. So they stayed for about 30 minutes. Then they went away. Well, sat there, nothing to happen. And all the once I hear a train coming. And here comes a train. And it had about 25 car loads of ammunition. Artillery ammunition. I said, by God, I ain't gonna stay here. You know, that's what they were looking for, is that train load of ammunition, that artillery. If you could bomb it, they could blow the whole damn town.
Sure, yeah.
And they're all set, by God. It was going in the middle of the tracks. I wouldn't tell you that story. That was really, I just sat there, you know, just think, hell, I would drop them bombs any minute before in the world. They kill us all. But in the end, well, we got by that. So the next day or two, before we left that place, we'd taken over a house right by that railroad track. And the Germans had left everything in there, all the dishes and everything. Beds, we had beds and everything in the house. So the sergeant from Tennessee said, he said, let's cook us a good dinner, you know, and celebrate. I said, okay. He said, go out there and kill one of them damn ducks out there walking around. So I'll make the duck dressing tomorrow. So the boy went out there with a machine gun and shot one damn duck with a machine gun. And one of that Frenchman had a fit. Told us we'd have to pay for his duck. We told him Uncle Sam would pay it. So we got rid of him. But so my first sergeant, he made duck dressing, and went in there, and them Germans had left all the canned stuff and everything. He got in there and got canned peaches, you know, and everything. Made peach cobbler and all that. Just had a whole table. There's 14 of us, you know. We just had a table, and the sergeant said, I'm going to ask the captain to come over and have lunch with us. So one of the lieutenants did come over and had lunch with us. So we all had a big feast and a lot of home cooking, you know. So it wasn't all bad, you know. So I wanted to tell you that story about the train, because that scared me to death, boy.
I bet.
Yeah, man.
Can I go back and ask you a couple questions about earlier things we talked about?
Okay.
When you were training, were you training on a 40 millimeter?
Yeah.
You were training on a 40 millimeter?
I was trained on a 40 millimeter. I could take a 40 millimeter apart and put it all back together, name every part.
Can you talk a little bit about what y'all were doing on maneuvers and other things that you did in your training?
In our training?
Yeah.
I see we had to do the same thing with the pitch caliber machine guns. We had to name all the parts, clean them and all that. And we had on our maneuvers, we had to go out and practice firing. They had a plane come by with a big towel, big banner on the back, you know, about 300 feet long. And we had to shoot at it. So say we were trained to shoot it on gun coming. I always cross like that. And we was good. We could, and we even practiced firing at rockets, you know. And we also practiced firing at those little radio planes. We practiced them. We tried to outjudge them, you see, but we never could hit them. We could hit them rockets when they go to their height and the stall, then I could blow them up. Mm-hmm. I never could hit them going up. But we get that. And let's see, if you got too close to the plane firing at them, well, the pilot would go in and warn them, you know, whoever was firing, he wasn't going to fly no more, you know, if they didn't get it right. Another time or two, you know, and on for the military, we used for the military, a director. That's the first computer, you know. It was called a director. You had a horizontal and vertical. And you synchronized your gun with it. In other words, every time it moved, your gun would move, you see. So you had a man on the vertical and a man on the horizontal. And that, you tracked the planes that way. And you put it on automatic, you didn't do nothing. You know, just fire the gun. You didn't, your men on the side didn't do any.
It would track it for you.
They would track it. Well, we didn't use them in combat. We couldn't, they were too slow, but we just set them aside. And we wouldn't use them. And a lot of times when we had a long stay at a place, we would build a nice, say 8 by 10 bunker, and we had electricity because we had them, what they now welding, Lincoln welding machines that just, and we had electricity, so we had lights and everything, and we lived pretty good when you want to think like that. So that's it. Now, on dock out. Now let's go down till we done past the Danube River.
All right.
So we was down the road there. I don't know what we was attached to, who we was attached to. Probably, you know, the Rainbow Division or the other division. I don't know which one we was attached to. But we went down the road and set up our guns. There was no planes to shoot at or nothing. And we got word that there was a prison camp up there, up the road there. Well, all them boys wanted to get in on it, you know, my gun section and all. They wanted to go up there and see about this prison camp. So we all went up there to see what was going on. So the infantry had already taken over the camp just a few hours before we got there. But you know, the GIs here, they wanted to help out. So they won't get in on it. So we went up there to see. So Finis Wagner, a buddy of mine, first thing he did is lower the dang flag, the German flag, and rolled it up. He kept it. Another boy from Oklahoma, first thing he does is keys to the, he put them in his pocket. I wasn't looking for souvenirs, I was see what he had. And so they asked, I guess they asked the infantry there, they wanted to take over and guard. So a bunch of them taking over and guard the prisoners there, you know, the guards, and helping the infantry. And I don't know where the infantry even asked them or not, or they just, 838 boys, they really didn't have no business being up there, but they wanted to see what's going on. Now, I went up there and I never seen such a sight in my life. I had dead people in carloads, and all them walking around there with no flesh, you know, just bones, and just hundreds and hundreds of them. That just made me sick. I didn't want to see no more of it. And I got pictures of it in there, you know. I didn't have a camera myself, but my other boys had the cameras and everything. They take a lot of pictures. They gave me the pictures of it, you know, what they taken of. And, but I didn't have a camera. Some of them boys had cameras. They taken a lot of pictures and they give them to me. But anyhow, I didn't want to. I didn't want to stay up there. Really, the smell was awful. And see all them people walking around there. I just couldn't stand it. But some of the boys, they loved it. They taken over and guard them guards, and they roughed them up. They told me that they roughed them up pretty bad. Some of them guards that the government taken over, they sent a bunch in to take over. See, and some of the GIs was pitching them on candy bars, in there. Hell, they could kill them. One candy bar would kill a person, And they told us, don't try to feed them. So the government come in and taken over. They didn't like it, so them 838 boys, by God, I roughed them up pretty bad, So they told me about, one or two of them told me I had to go down and stay on my gun, every so often. I wasn't supposed to leave it. But anyhow, but I did stay up there for quite a while, see what's going on and everything. But just like some of the boys was more interested in getting souvenirs, out there. And Wagner out of Liberators, he got the flag and he gave it to the Jews here a few years back, the Holocaust. He went to New York and gave it to them. I think it was New York. Washington, I think it was New York. That he went and gave them the flag. I don't know what that boy ever done with all the keys. But anyhow, after that, we went on down. A bunch of Germans gave up to us over there. And we went to the end of the war down there, plumb to the Austria border. And the war was over. We heard that the infantry and the Russians got into a little fight there at the last. But I think they got it stopped. I don't know. America didn't like him Russians anyhow. So anyhow, we come on back to and made our headquarters in Augsburg, Germany. So I went up there to headquarters to find out what outfit. I was searching for another outfit. And they brought Herman Goering in there when I was there. And I was just a few feet from him when they brought him in there and he had on his uniform and all his medals and everything. And I guess he thought he was going to have a good time, But anyhow, they brought him in there to 7th Army headquarters and locked him up. So I got to see him. That's one I did see. And so then after that, we trained in Germany to get ready for the Pacific. So we went out on maneuvers. We did practice gunning and all that. And July come, we went to Marseille, France to get ready to go to Pacific. So they told us that it would take 90 days by boat for us going around to the Pacific. And we had to have so many points at that time where they'll ship us home on furlough or sit there and wait. If you didn't have very many points, they let you go back to the States and spend your 10 days. But if you had a lot of points, they wouldn't send you back. I never could understand that. We had to wait there. And we waited and waited until they dropped the atomic bomb. So therefore, we didn't have to go to Pacific.
You remember when you heard that news?
Oh yeah, I remember when I heard the news.
Yeah.
Let's see, I forget now what day it was, but anyhow, we heard the news come over. And the war ended, my mom was took to death, and so my wife heard it, and she said, well, he'll be home any day now. That was, what was that, September?
August.
August, yeah, August. But the wife thought I'd be home in 2 weeks, you see. It was January before I got home. I had 69 points, and if I'd had 70, I could have been home by Christmas. But I had 69. So I ain't getting home no more than one was 60 points. So my wife couldn't understand why I couldn't come home. I told her, I'm still waiting for a boat. You know, we didn't have enough boats to bring us all home.
Uh-huh. So you said how your brother decided to make a career in the Navy. Did you think about staying in the Army?
No, yeah, I thought about it. They told me in Marseille, I was sergeant guard of a PO, you know, prisoner camp there for a while. And we had to pull duties in warehouses and what have you, and guard them Germans. And so I heard they had set up a college there in Marseille where you could go to school. If you entered college full time, you didn't have to pay no guard. You didn't have to pull no duties. Mm-hmm. So I went up and registered full time. I taken engineering drawing and French and business law and all that. And I studied that. And that's where I got the idea of being a machinist when I come out. That helped me because he told me, our instructor told me, he says, when you get back, now war's over, when you get back, if you'll make a machinist, you'll never be out of a job. Well, that buried on my mind, you know. And I was good at blueprint reading and all that and designing and everything. I just had the natural talent for that. I never could learn that French, though. I never could learn that, so I just dropped that. So, but business law helped me a lot. I learned more about law and what you could do and everything. So that helped me a lot. But the main thing that helped me is going to that engineering school, you know, drafting and all that. Because when I come back, like I say, I wanted to go in the cattle business and I never could get it alone, so I got a job as a machinist helper down here at Pittsburgh in a box factory. You know, they paid me 50 cents an hour to learn how to be a machinist. And I set them up on the GI training, you know, and I got subbed, you know, GI training. They promised me that they would give me a nickel raise every 6 months. But they gave me one nickel raise and never would give me no more. And I jumped them out about it. They said, oh, well, we was going to lay you off anyhow. I said, well, I'll be gone tonight. The government had bought me a set of tools. The government was supposed to furnish a set of tools and they bought them for me. I had a set of tools. They wouldn't let me carry the tools out, said the government hadn't paid for them. So I had to leave them. But I left anyhow. I went to Talco and hired out at a machine shop over there for 85 cents an hour. I wouldn't make them to 55 there. So I hired out at 85 cents an hour. And I stayed there. And I drawed that sub till I got to making as much as a machinist. The machinists make $1 an hour at that time. So I dropped the sub and went on working till 2 months before I spent my 4 years, and then I filed for it again, and I got apprenticeship papers as a machinist from the Secretary of State, you know, Secretary of Labor. Secretary of Labor, I got that. So I've been in a machine job ever since. and I've never been out of a job. Never been. I've made parts all over the world. I get a big thrill on making parts, and making them. You know, where you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing something worth something when you're making parts for a factory. And now then, back in '72, when I went into business, my son talked me into it. He was working at Lone Star Steel down here. He was a turn foreman already in college at Tyler. He had finished Tyler down there. So I was foreman down there in the machine shop. He said, Daddy, only way you'll ever get rich or have any money is going for yourself. Is organize your own company. I said, that's a good deal, but where are we going to get the backing? He said, well, I got a dad-in-law that's supposed to be pretty well off. And his uncle is real rich. And maybe we can get him to finance us, and we'll build us a machine shop. Now, my son, James, he wasn't but about, 20 years old? I don't know. Something like that. So we made an appointment for him in Tulsa. He owned a gas mart. Self-service stations all over the country. So we told him our plan. He said, well, give me your plan. I told him a plan for 10 years on what we could do. And he liked it. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll back you. I'll back you. So he did. He put up some money. And I got the building up, and I bought the equipment, moved it all in, and he got started in '72. And I knew Talco work, and I hired the welders over there, and I got a lot of business over there at that time. And there was a lot of companies that needed machine work in Dallas and everywhere. So Oil Well Supply up there at Garland, they liked me, and they wanted me to build a lot of their parts, so I built a lot of their parts and everything. I built their shafts and their big pumps in Tennessee there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Murray Gin, I did a lot of their parts, making gins and big pressers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I made all that. Continental Inscope, I made a lot of their parts. I just made parts for everybody nearly. And I got quotes out of New York on building power plants. I built part of the power plants here. I built the ladders and all that kind of stuff. I just was overflowed with all the work I could do, you see. Mm-hmm. And I just kept growing and growing. We expanded, and Lone Star Steel, I just got all kind of work from them, and the times were so good, and we run 3 shifts of machining parts, by golly, and we paid for the whole outfit in 1 year. We paid for all our machinery and everything in 1 year of operation of So we just got making money like everything. So now, what they done in 72 on up, they shifted all their jobs overseas.
Yeah.
We ain't got none, no. Very few now. You can't hardly make a profit no more. They got your insurance so damn high. They got your taxes so high. You can't make it. So all we doing now is keeping our employees, and just making a little profit and just breaking even. That's all we doing now. We're not gonna shut it down because them boys would be out of a job. And James said, no, I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna, as long as I can give these people a job, keep them on the job, and pay them, I'm gonna keep the doors open.
And you're still down there every day, right?
I go down there every day and unlock. Unlock the doors, and I'll stay till 12 o'clock, and I'll come home, I'll take my nap, I'll stay till 2 o'clock. I don't go back till 2 o'clock. And sometimes I don't even go back till 3 o'clock. But if they need me, they call me. That's all they have to do. But I line everybody up to work and what to do before I leave. And I buy all the material for all the jobs. And I quote the prices on all the jobs. And I have to do that every week. I'll get a spreadsheet of all the parts I need from U.S. Steel. And I have to quote the prices. If you get them wrong, you just lose money if you don't. So that's the way that goes. So I'm still working.
Yeah, you love it, don't you?
I love it. I tell you, it keeps me alive. I've had a triple bypass, and the doctor said at 80, I think I was 85 years old. He said, man, I ain't never seen a person your age get along as fast as you did on a triple bypass. Hell, I was up the next day. And anyhow, the third day, he'd taken all the tubes out of it. And I had appendicitis operation at 83, that was. And I had all these stopped up valves, and I didn't even know I had stopped up valves. They didn't even have time to check me. I had appendicitis, they had to operate. So they cut me off. They cut me up. They weren't me. I got a hernia right there from that operation. I lifted something that caused me a hernia. I can't get it fixed. I guess I live with it. No, it don't bother me. So that's it.
Well, I want to go back and ask you a couple questions if that's all right.
All right.
We're still going.
Okay.
I know your unit shot down 9 planes.
Yeah.
And we didn't necessarily talk about that. Can you tell me what you remember of that?
Well,
yeah.
My unit, I left the paper in there telling all what did. They shot down 9 planes that night, but we 838 got credit for 7 of them. Now, I was on the other side. I didn't get to shoot at the planes. All my other units were I was out in reserve. So I can't get credit for shooting them down, see? And we were back in the holding position right there, and we weren't supposed to fire anything, you see. And so one of the boys on the M51 mount, the plane come over and he opened fire on that plane and all of us there, And that sergeant just had a fit. He run up there and hollered at that boy and got him out of there and said, what in the hell are you doing, man? And I think it was a second lieutenant that gave him orders to fire. That sergeant eat him out too. And I'll tell you another story. Another story I forgot one time. They were shelling us over there on the Siegfried line. We was up on a hill there, And the pillbox is down there. The Germans was all in that pillbox, big one. And the infantry was down there. I don't know what infantry bunch it was. But anyhow, these P-47, 6 of them at a time would come. P-47, 8 open machine guns and just fired that pillbox. Till every one of them emptied their gun. Then they leave and here come 6 more. Do the same thing. They wasn't doing anything, that pillbox. So went down there and talked to them boys. And they said, I said, what y'all gonna do? He said, well, one of the boys says he's a welder and we called for a welding machine. So we gonna go up tonight and we gonna weld all them doors shut on that thing. And so that night I looked over and I see that welding machine going. It was making the light. They were welding them damn doors all shut. So then we're gonna put down the explosion on top of that pillbox and blow it up. So I guess that's what they done. I never did know. But anyhow, they were throwing shells over us. The Germans, artillery shells went over our heads. We was up on the hill, and I told my boys, I said, boys, we got to dig in. We don't never know when they're going to throw this artillery at us. And so they didn't want to dig in. They were just like East Texas, you know. It was rocky and everything. So they got up there and started digging. One boy just dug a little hole. He got in it and put his blanket over the top of it. See, like that was going to stop it, the thing. So I built mine and we dug it out and I put brush and everything on top of mine, you see. But the next morning we got up, there was a piece of metal about as big as a quarter sticking in that blanket. And I told him, I said, see there? What if that damn thing would have, you could have got wounded right quick. He said, he agreed. And digging them foxholes, digging in and everything, a lot of them so damn lazy, they didn't want to do it, but I kept on doing it. I said, well, we got to dig in. One boy said, I got an idea. So he taken a hand grenade, put a string on it, and put it in there where you go dig his foxhole, you see, and put that hand grenade in there and had a string on the back of there, and he got in behind in the bunkers there and started pulling on that string, you see. I said, wait a minute. You should have already, that should have already went off. Stop that pulling that hand grenade toward me. He stopped, and that hand grenade was about that far from and that stopped that. We wasn't going to have no more of that. Blowing up your foxhole with a hand grenade. Well,
I got a couple more questions.
okay.
So, did you ever have to? I know there were some cases where they were using 40 millimeters as anti-tank, or they were using them on land-based targets. Did you use them just on aircraft?
Mostly on aircraft. I don't think we ever practiced land.
Yeah.
Like, we practiced more with a bazooka.
Yeah.
Shooting them at tanks. Now, I was an expert at bazooka, you know. I fired a lot of bazookas, you know. Mm-hmm. But make a long story short, them German bazookas, they had the warhead on the end of them. Mm-hmm. So, a couple of them little Yankees, by golly, didn't know any different. And they was going to heat up their coffee, and they got them a couple of them and put them on and put the coffee pot on there and lit the fire, you know. And they was making coffee, and it wasn't very long that the whole damn thing exploded. It exploded. Would have had to kill them. I don't know how we got it all. No.
When you think of the 19-year-old kids with...
The kids, they do anything. They come up here and they, one place, they said, why don't we just kill us a that blame hog and have and roast him? I said, well, go ahead and get you a hog. They went out and shot a that blame old pig, weighed about 125 pounds, brought it in there. And I'm the only one, I think, in that whole bunch knew how to kill a hog dressing. They asked me how you do it. And I said, well, the first thing you got to heat up water, you got to scald that sucker, Bill, and get all hair off of him. Well, they heated him up some water where they couldn't scald him, and they shaved the son of a gun. Yeah, they shaved him. They finally got that pig up. They cooked on that pig, I don't know how long. It wasn't fit to eat. What they got to do with it? They didn't know how to do it. Like that. They had heard about it, but they didn't know that. So that's the way. And I'll tell you what, I told one boy that's there on the front line, I said, I kept my German interpreter with me all the time. They was my buddy. And he could speak as good as they could, no words. I said, why don't we just go over to that house, and if there's a lady in there, let's make her cook our breakfast for us. He said, okay. So we went over there. There's a lady in there. There wasn't no men around or nothing. So we told her, we'd like for her to cook us a good breakfast. She said, well, you want bacon and eggs, or you want sausage and eggs? It don't make no difference. You know that German woman cooked our breakfast? It's how we eat it.
Well, now I know you got to get back to work, but I want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
Are there some other memories? Because one of the reasons why we're doing this is because of your time at Dachau.
Yeah.
So are there some other memories you have of that time you were at Dachau that you can share with us?
Not really no whole lot, because I had my gun crew down there and my gun down there. I was supposed to stay with them, and the infantry had taken over Dachau, and it wasn't any, we didn't really have any business even being up there, because I don't think the infantry needed our help. But you know, 19-year-old boys and everything, they wanted in on everything. Mm-hmm. They wanted souvenirs and everything like that. And I wasn't really interested in these souvenirs and nothing like that. So I didn't stay up there very long. Mm-hmm. I seen all them people and everything, and the smell of it, and all them people, and they said there was 52 carloads of dead people that went out of there that day, and they dumped them, and so I didn't stay up there very long. Mm-hmm. I went up there to see what it was all about, and that's about all I remember. Mm-hmm. That. Now some of the boys that guarded them guards now, they told me some stories about them. They told me that one of them guards, he wanted to write a letter to us. And so they let him write a letter, you know, and everything. And then when he got through, they just tore it up and burned it. So, no, and then another boy told me that he kicked one of them guards downstairs. They had a building there, you know what they was in. He kicked that German in the rear end down them stairs, and I think it broke his leg. They were pretty rough on them. Some of the boys in my outfit was really rough on them guards that they taken over. They like to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, so they told me stories of what they done, you know. And but I didn't stay up there very long, I'll tell you. I know a lot of other boys can give you a lot better stories than I, because I didn't stay up there very long. I just seen it, seen what it's all about, seen all them dead people and all them people walking around there and they're dead, and that's it.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you more, but
No.
I ain't got no more.
Oh, I got to ask you the question. Now, what rank did you get up to in the Army?
Corporal, as far as I don't think the government, I don't think they give me. I think they done me wrong.
All right.
I stayed a sergeant, a corporal, all during that, and did a sergeant's job. They called me to do a sergeant's job, to take care of the section leader and everything. And that when the war was over and come back, I thought they'd give me a ranking, but because I enrolled in school and wouldn't do any more guard work or nothing, they wouldn't give me no more ranking. And they told me over there when I enrolled in that school, if you'll stay in the Army, we'll send you to England and put you through college in England if I'd stay in the Army. But they wouldn't give me no ranking. They kept me as an acting sergeant all through the war. They didn't call on the sergeant to do anything, they called on me.
Mm-hmm.
They told me to identify the bombers and everything else. And we was over there at Mannheim, guarding that bridge, and Bed Check Charlie come over every night, and we wasn't supposed to fire in him, wasn't supposed to knock him down, So he come over one evening, and a bunch of the guns opened fire on him. You see? Well, hell, if all of them gonna shoot him, I am too. I'm gonna knock him down too. So I turned around, and I hit about 12 rounds towards him. I didn't hit him. And so next morning, here come two officers. They said, "Buchanan, did you fire last night that German guy?" I said, "Sure did. Everybody else firing. Hell, I opened fire too." "Now, you knew you wasn't supposed to." I said, "I know I wasn't supposed to, but hell, everybody else firing on. I thought I'd knock him down too." They said, "Well, did you clean your gun good? Your barrel?" "Yes, sir." I hadn't even wiped it. He said, "Open that breech and let me look down that barrel." That officer, he looked down that barrel and said, "Buchanan, clean that dead blade barrel. You ain't even cleaned it." I said, "Okay, I will." So he went on. I cleaned it after he left. But you're supposed to clean your weapon after you fire it today.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't clean the darn thing. But he didn't say no more. He just two officers, I think one of them was a second lieutenant, the other one was a first lieutenant. Them first lieutenant and second lieutenant, one of them was school teachers. They didn't know nothing.
Yeah, you've been around the block a few times.
Oh yeah, I've been around the block a few times that day. So that's about all I know. I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Well, Mr. Buchanan, I know you got obligations you got to get to. I appreciate you talking to us this afternoon. And Robert and I want to thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate it. I too appreciate it.